Good morning, everybody. We're having a wonderful day, technologically speaking. Nah, that was a bit of my Canadian sarcasm coming out there. Um, okay, this is, um, yeah, we're just, maybe not. Okay, so I have no idea if you guys can see me or not. My, um, computer video card seems to want to be acting up right now. So let me see. Let me see what you guys see on my phone. Because um, I'm seeing black squiggly lines. There we are. Okay, you guys can actually see me. So I can't see myself on my computer. So I'm going to have to watch on my phone. So you'll just have to kind of um, pardon me as I'm like obviously looking kind of like bizarro here. I'm gonna see if I can click around and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. Um, all right. So, all right. I really can't see on my computer. So I'm going to look at my computer and kind of look at my phone. This is going to be an odd training, but we're here. We're live. And let me see if, good morning. Oh, good. Jean Ann says she can see me. Hi, Susan. Hi, Lisa. Okay. We are, this is like on the fly adaption. I don't know what we're going to call it this morning. But, um, as you can see, like I'm sitting at my dining room table this morning, so you get my lovely wine pitcher in the background as a backdrop. How beautiful is that? Okay, we're actually talking about brand voice, and this is kind of ironic because really, if you've followed me at all over the last 2 or 3 years doing these live streams, I've always said you'll get the real me. I am not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to have this, kind of fake facade. I do have a backdrop screen normally just because sometimes I'm not always sitting at my desk and I never know really what's going to be behind me. But having your brand voice and being consistent is so important. So my trans, you know, my my persona is you get what you see, and and this is the real me, right? So I'm very transparent. And so, with that, this is why I'm going to stumble for the first 5 minutes while I get my head back into the right space. Um, because we're just winging it. Oh my gosh. Okay. And, I have to let go of perfection, right? So, we always, as small business owners, want to have the best foot forward and have our perfect face on and just really come across as purely professional. It doesn't always happen that way. And I am living, breathing proof of it right now because this is like the furthest from perfection as you'll ever get this morning. And that's okay, right? We're gonna march on and we're gonna get through this. There's going to be a delay between what I'm going to be saying and what I see on my phone. So I will watch for your comments and I will come back to them. And so just kind of bear with this craziness this morning. I really didn't think it'd be this chaotic. Okay, so consistency of voice and messaging. And, last week we talked about the visual identity that kind of reflects your brand. And we looked at the icons and the colors and the fonts and different things like that. And this week I really wanted to continue that conversation about the voice, because your voice is your personality, right? So the visual and brand, they really work together to create this cohesiveness, and it reinforces your brand personality. So when your brand visuals, right, your colors and fonts and the imagery are all aligned with the tone and the language, then you create this consistent impression. And obviously this morning's impression of me, if you've never been on one of my trainings before, you might be like going, who is this crazy lady, right? And you'd be like thinking, this is not somebody I really want to tune into. She's just kind of chaotic. But this is how we have to, adapt on the fly. And this is part of my brand as well, right? Is not everything is going to be written in stone, not everything is going to go as planned, and so we need to be able to be adaptable and adjust. And so when we're thinking of our brand personality, I want my brand personality to be one of flexibility, adaptability, fun, where we can laugh at ourselves, because that's how we grow. And this training is obviously spot on for that, right? It's the universe telling me that I'm going to be doing this way. So the brand personality is what your customers are going to be able to immediately recognize. It's the same look, it's the same feel across all materials, no matter what. It can be whether it like a marketing paper material, or a social media post, or a video training, or a course you write, or a product you sell, right? Things are all going to resonate with the same personality behind it, because it's how you're going to present it to your audience, right? And when there's that cohesiveness between the identity, the visual, and the voice, then the customer experience is more aligned. It's more in tune, and they're able to say, I know that person, right? And that consistency will eliminate confusion. And it allows them to kind of walk through your funnel, your sales experience, your onboarding experience, whether it be a product or service, with a sense of familiarity. And they really start to think, I can really trust this because I see what she's been doing all along. And there's really no surprises. And when there's no surprises and they're able to stay connected and anticipate the type of interaction they're going to have, then that deepens the emotional interaction they have with us and that connection. And remember that know, like, and trust, that sequence, that framework, to get to trust, that is where the deepened emotional connection stems from. Okay, that's bringing last week's training into this week's training, why the two are connected and why it's so important to have that cohesiveness. We're going to talk about the clarity of brand voice today. We're going to help you craft a message that resonates, and then we're going to look at 2 or 3 tips about how you can stay consistent across the different platforms. So if you're tuning in right now, if I had to ask you a question about your brand voice, the personality, what would be your key personality of your brand right now? If you could think of a word that might describe it, right? Because our brand voice is what refers to that personality, the tone, the style. So this morning's tone of the training started off wild and crazy and out there, right? Kind of bold, flexible, et cetera, et cetera. So what does your brand voice, what is that one word that really kind of pops to you and speaks to your audience that you want people to remember your brand by? And when you see me kind of looking at it, it's because I'm looking at my phone, right? So, because just as we want to be consistent with the visual elements, we want to be consistent with the voice as well. And in most of my marketing, most of my trainings, I have the element of, confidence and professionalism and flexibility, but it's hard to bring out that levity, right? The laughter piece, the joy piece through the work that you create when it's kind of like that 2D. But when you interact on these trainings, this is where you get that 3D, the 4D element of connection. So when you're thinking about the authenticity of your brand, how does it align with the core values and the culture of your business? So we did a training on core values, I think it was 3 weeks ago. So thinking about your core values and the culture of your business, how does that brand personality play into it? So is it bold? Is it empowering? Is it friendly? What what are 3 to 5 words or a short phrase that might describe your brand and how you want your brand to sound? So at the beginning, I asked you to think of one word that you would want your brand to be. So now I want you to think of 3 to 5 words or a short phrase that describes your brand. See, now I'm holding my phone and it's driving me crazy, so I'm going to see if I can prop it up against my my phone. So thinking about that, right? Because see, I'm used to having 2 hands free because I like to talk with my hands. So think about that. So the first one was your brand voice. What's the style, the tone, your personality? You want to come up with 2 to 5 words, 3 to 5 words, or a short phrase. Right? So bold, empowering, friendly. What words are coming to mind for you guys? So that's your first piece of your homework, is you want to find those descriptive words or phrase that explains or expresses your brand. And you want it to be authentic, right? Because this is your brand. You're kind of creating that brand persona for yourself. Just like you put together your client persona, you're putting together your brand persona with this, because this is going to help drive that purpose. So Jean Ann is saying her phrase is that on her website is style for you and your home. Excellent. I like it. Style, right? So classic is what the first word that comes to mind, Jean Ann, when I'm reading that, right? Style for you and your home. I'm thinking classic. It's a classic style. I don't know what that actually means in your lingo, because I know each industry has its own lingo, but to me that's what kind of comes to mind. And maybe that's part of, you know, my style coming through when you're saying style for you. So so thinking about that phrase, style for you in your home, is there 2 or 3 words that describe the personality of that brand? Because now you want clarity, because now you want to take that phrase and to be able to expand on it, which is what we're going to do next, right? Because this list is really kind of, it's going to be like a blueprint, your personality blueprint, maybe we'll say, right? So it's clear, it's concise, because it wants to guide you as you move forward, because you want to be able to refer to it as you continuously create new content, whether it be a product or a service, right? You want to be coming back to that, because that's going to stay in alignment. You're going to keep everything flowing, so there's no disconnection if somebody sees you on one platform versus another, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But it's going to be important that you kind of come back to this style guide each and every time when you're creating something new for your business, whether it be internal or external, right? So crafting the message is the next step. We have that phrase, we have those terms. So now we kind of look at that, the descriptor. How are you going to shape your specific message? So think about it as, just making sure here. Okay. Right? So it's got to be relevant. So your message, when you're creating it based on that guide we were just talking about, it needs to directly address the needs or the desires of your audience. So as you think of that, right? So if we use Jean Ann as our gal in the hot seat right now, right? Style for you in your home. How is that addressing a need or a desire of your audience? And you know your audience the best. So it could directly speak to them, absolutely, because they're coming to you for style. So an example might be you're a busy entrepreneur, juggling clients, work, and family, right? You need to have a flexible scheduling tool to help reclaim all of those hours so we can focus on what matters most, right? So that's a message that speaks directly to what target market? Working mothers, right? Another example might be struggling to attract high-paying clients in a crowded market, right? There's so many people, so many audiences, so many other businesses doing something similar, right? Our flexible scheduling tool helps you reclaim those precious hours. So then you can focus on what matters most, right? So what does that mean? That means you're creating something for them to gain back those hours, right? Yeah, so I'm watching to make sure I'm catching up here. So the message relevance is important. That's the first step. You want to make sure that those descriptive words, that phrase, is relevant to your audience. Because the next step then is making that emotional connection, right? So your strong brand voice and your audience understanding is going to equal the messaging to spark the engagement and loyalty. So an example might be every woman entrepreneur deserves to feel confident in her brand story. We're here to help you create a narrative that captures both your passion and your audience's heart. So strong brand voice, your audience can understand it. It's going to bring that engagement, right? People are going to respond to that. Another example might be, we believe your business dreams shouldn't feel out of reach. Let us guide you in turning those big ideas into a reality that empowers both you and your customers. And, right, so big dreams. As some of us as entrepreneurs, like we have these grandiose ideas of where we want to be, and they just kind of feel like they're just outside of our reach. So this example is they're going to turn your big ideas into a reality, right? So Jean Ann is saying, I create very colorful. Okay, gotta make sure my phone isn't cutting things off here. Okay, yeah, so her style, you know, her phrase is style for you and your home, and she creates very colorful. So now we need to marry those, right? So that message relevance, so the colorful, so you create colorful styles for me as an individual and for my home. I'm going to kind of turn it into myself, right? So then we want to take that into the third step when we're crafting the message, and it's that consistency of tone. So in the beginning, when we talked about those 3 to 5 words that defined your personality of your brand, this is where you're going to be consistent, right? If it's upbeat, if it's professional, if it's authoritative, where you're standing in your sense of power and authority, right? Or you're empathetic. So it might be an example of an upbeat and friendly phrase or statement might be, right? So we call all our members here in the group go-getters, right? So it's, hey, go-getter, ready to put your brand on the map. We've got tips and tools designed to help your business shine. Let's get started. So we draw on that bold and professional, but the fun and friendly, while we make that emotional connection, right? So another example might be, we specialize in driving measurable brand success. Our proven strategies ensure your message remains both clear and compelling in every customer touch point. So that would be, you know, somebody who's doing like a market, if they were a marketing specialist. So how are you drawing that emotional connection, right? So that second example was the measurable brand success, that people are like, oh, that caught my attention, right? And then both clear and compelling. So there's certain key terms within your statements when you're creating them and your messaging that's going to resonate with people, but it needs to be on brand. And that's what this is talking about, right? It needs to be relevant. It needs to have that emotional connection, and then showing that consistency of tone. So now that you have, right, from the first step, you had your 3 to 5 brand personality words or terms. Now you want to incorporate those keywords into a short, authentic story, right? So just like the two examples above were longer than just a short phrase, right? So you want to incorporate those brand personality terms into a statement that really illustrates how your business solves the problem of your audience. Because that's what they're looking for, right? When they're reading any type of communication from you, whether it be a marketing material or a post or even in the visual, they want to know how you're going to solve the problem that I have. Make sense? So first step is identifying those 3 to 5 descriptive words to define your personality of your brand. Next is you want to incorporate those terms into a short, authentic story or illustrating statement. And then that takes us into the third step, right? So that's your starter message, what we just created, right? So the third part is staying consistent across platforms. We have our brand voice, we have our core message. Now we need to apply it across all of our channels. So when you think about your channels, what are all the channels that you have right now that you're working on? So this one is one, right? The Facebook group is one. Instagram is another. X, Blue Sky, Substack is another one that's growing really fast. TikTok. What are all the different platforms or channels, YouTube, that you could be on? And the key is understanding kind of these 3 points. The first one, the platform, the familiarity you have with that platform. Each platform has its own requirements. And whatever you're creating, you need to make sure you adjust it to the length and style to meet that platform. But your voice needs to remain the same as you're creating it. So understanding what platforms you're working on. So Blue Sky is very similar to X or Twitter. And so short form, right? It's, I think you can record up to 3-minute videos there now, but the same type of character limit. And then, right, Instagram, you have the longer form videos versus the short form videos plus the static. And the same with Facebook. TikTok is very much video only. Even if you're turning a static image into a video, it's still that short form video. So know your platform and what their guidelines are, because based on those guidelines, you as a small business need to create your own guideline so you can ensure consistency. So that way, as you're growing and you continue to create content, you're not having to try and start from scratch each and every time. So your content guideline is going to include the platforms you are publishing on and the requirements each of those platforms has. And then how does your voice show up on each and every one of those platforms? Because you want to remind yourself, what is the visual and verbal connection, right? And that's where the consistency comes in. How does it change or needs to be adjusted based on the platform you are sharing it on? So what you can say on one platform, aka TikTok, and say 60 seconds, you might say it in 10 minutes over on YouTube, because you can do a longer form and a much more of a freestyle, right? You want to make sure that you have all of those in place so you understand it and you have that quick reference, and you're not having to start from scratch, or you create a piece of content on a platform that doesn't work, and so it falls flat, and your audience will be like, oh, that was weird, that's at a character for them, that doesn't make sense, it doesn't match, aka confusion, right? So creating templates becomes a really great format, right? So you have a template where you're saying these are the different templates we're going to use on each of those platforms, and these are the keywords we're going to be using. These are our sample phrases for our taglines. And then understand how you're going to shift it from more conversational, say for Instagram stories, or more formal in an email. When you have that basic guide created, as you're continuing to grow and create content and become clear on who your target audience is, you can update the guidelines. Or if you happen to bring on another individual, so you hire a team member of some sort, doesn't matter to what level or degree, right? Then you have this guideline that you can share with them. They get to be consistent with you, even if it's just temporary, right? Even if you bring on somebody short term where you just need help for a couple of weeks, that guideline can really be helpful, where you're not having to re-explain all the time. Okay, so with that quick reference, what do you feel now looking back on your brand personality, your short message, that key phrase with the guideline? What do you think in this next week you want to be working on? Or do you need to work on anything? And I love the AI captions. They're not always 100% right. So I see them and I kind of chuckle. Because it says book, right, instead of brand. Anyways. Questions. Right? We want to make sure that our brand guide, that voice guide, then aligns with your visual brand guide, right? Last week we talked about having a guide, a reference sheet around your visuals. And then this now starts to build on top of that. Yeah, Jean says, I have so much to work on. So Jean, you're not alone. Take a breath. You've got this. The nice thing is you can come back to these videos and kind of rewatch and kind of take it step by step, right? And it doesn't have to be done in a day, right? We know Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. So take it step by step and know that it's something you want to work on consistently as you move forward. Okay? So one of the recommendations I give my clients is carve out maybe 30 to 45 minutes a week to work on your visual guide and your brand voice guide. So then that way, as you move forward, you can keep coming back and tweaking it. And when you do your audience check-in, which is another thing I recommend clients, right? Every 6 months, you kind of review your audience persona, your client persona, to make sure nothing has shifted or changed. And if it has shifted or changed, then you go back to your branding guide, the visual and the voice, and you make your tweaks if necessary, right? So yeah, so you've got this, Jean Ann. It's good. You'll be, it'll take a bit, but you've got it. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, awesome. Yeah, so in Yeah, so over in the Women's Business Resource Community, there is a ton of resources. If you need help identifying any of those resources, reach out. I can make some recommendations as well for you. Okay? And then if it was the neighbor, then every other week there is that bi-weekly coaching that's included. So make sure you jump on there so I can give you some more personal support as well. Okay, good. Well, thank you guys. This has been, like, I have no idea what's going on with my computer, but obviously I needed to take it somewhere because the video card is going wonky on me. But thank you for being patient this morning as we got started and it was all, I don't know, crazy. I appreciate you guys and you're welcome, Jean Ann. And I just, and I'm honored to be here and I'm glad you guys are able to take me as I am, my imperfection and everything. So I appreciate you. Have a great day and we will see you guys next week. So, okay, here's gonna be the funny part. Now that I want to end it, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to end this with my video card or my computer going all crazy. So you might have, we're just going to see. We're going to see what's going on here. And see. Oh, okay. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Hang on. I might have just to end this with like restarting my computer. I'm not really quite sure let's see. I think I'm going to have to guess here.